Hey guys, so today we are installing a boost gauge from AEM Performance Electronics. It's this guy right here. So we also have bought quite a bit of stuff just from local stores in order to make it a little bit easier to install this. It did come with quite a few things in the box, but just for ease of install, we decided to pick up a few other things. So we're going to start by removing the battery and the ECU. Might remove the intake depending on how much room we end up having once the battery and ECU are out, since we have to access one of the boost lines down here. So we've removed both the battery and the ECU, which is just set aside here, and that will give us access to the firewall back there to be able to route the wires for the gauge, which will be set up obviously in the actual cabin from the engine bay to there. So to gain access through the firewall there, we have to obviously take this piece off, and as you can see, there's a bolt right there. That nut, we just need to remove it. So we took the supplied wire harness here with the boost connector on this side and then your power connectors on the other side, and then the piece that connects to the actual gauge itself, and we put it through the top of the firewall there. And then if we go and look inside, we have the rest of it sitting here on the floor. So there is coming through right up there. So like I said, we have the connector for the actual boost gauge, and then we have our power wires here to connect to the fuse. So I just quickly want to cut in. So for the remainder of the video, we end up using a different line than the final line that we used. I wanted to leave it in just because it shows step by step still how to attach the line, how to attach the T, etc. Basically, we finished everything up until the end of the video, and then we took it for a test drive. So we were noticing that that line wasn't giving off very good positive PSI, so it was only reading to about 5 PSI or so. I know, jokes, that's probably all it gives, right? But basically, we decided when we came back that we were going to change where the T was, and we did that quickly. So I'll show you guys very quick before we continue the video the actual line that we ended up using. So if you do use this video as a step-by-step instruction on how to install one on a Veloster N, you can use this new location that I'll give you, or you can also potentially use the blow-off valve line, which I think is what they originally want you to use. We just decided to go this route instead because it was easier to keep hidden and it was a lot more accessible. So in the rest of the video, you'll see that we end up using this line down here, right there. So we ended up just putting a straight coupler on that, and then using 2 gear clamps and just clamping that back together. And then we switched the actual line that we ended up using to up here. So we just reconnected the T-clamp, gear clamped it, and then we have this running along underneath, zip tied underneath of the intake to another wire, and then of course running into the cabin.
Alright, so we're gonna cut into this hose right here. It's a vacuum line. This is where we're gonna tie our T in and run it back to the boost gauge to be able to get our readings.
So for ease of installation, we went to Home Depot and we picked up this T, because this one here is the one that AEM supplies in the kit. We just wanted to go a little more heavy duty. And then we also picked up some more tubing here, which will be what attaches to that vacuum line to give us the reading and that will attach to the end of the cable that we just put through the firewall to give the readings to the boost gauge.
Cut. We have cut that hose, and now we are trying to install this T. It's a little hot. Things are very, very hot down here. Once we can get this T in, might need 2 hands. Once we get this T in, connect everything up, and be able to get the other side in.
Alright, so we just put 2 clamps on there to reattach the vacuum line together, and then that little T section there, we will attach the actual sensor line that will go to the boost gauge. And then we are just putting the clamp on to the last piece. She on. There you go. So we have the whole T connected now, and we are going to throw this wire or this piping into the boost gauge. Boop, boop. So we've plugged the actual boost gauge wiring harness here into the sensor now, and that of course leads all the way back to your T clamp, which is right there. So now we're just gonna zip tie it up out of the way, away from anything that's necessarily too hot, and we'll be going inside the car after that. Alright, so we just attached it on right there with a couple of zip ties. Not the prettiest for now, but it will do just to make sure everything is secure, and once we test it, we might end up switching up where we put it, but we'll see. Alright, so we just redid the bolt there on the firewall, that little guy on the top, and now we're gonna put the ECU and battery back in and head to the inside of the car just to attach a fuse tab for the power, ground it, and then give her a test. Alright, so ECU, battery back in, and we are starting to work on the inside stuff. Alright, so we have the ground and the fuse tab all wired up and ready to go, and we'll be plugging it in down here in this fuse box that's inside the cabin. Alright, so we grounded to that bolt right there, and then the fuse we actually plugged in right there. So at this point we're just waiting on the pod to come. So I ended up conversing with James Design about pods, and he showed me some pictures of one that he had 3D printed and designed himself, and I was pretty impressed. So at the price point that he was like putting it at, it was definitely the best option. Hoping to eventually get like a pillar pod to go right obviously along here. At like this current moment though, there's really not many options, and there's basically only one that's available. It's a little bit pricey, at least like out of my price range right now, and I only have one at this time. So if I had have gotten the actual setup that I wanted, I would have had 2 pods that were just empty. So I decided to just do a temporary solution for now, probably for the rest of the season, and then next year we'll revisit pods once we have more, and then we'll look into a more permanent solution. But also, since we're waiting on that pod right now, we've kind of just strung the gauge through the interior right now. So we basically have it coming from there, and we have it going over top for now, and then it's just been sitting in here. So we went on a big cruise last night, and we're doing some polls and stuff. Obviously, with it being sitting in here, it was just kind of resting at my, like, beside my wallet. You couldn't really see what it was reading while you were driving, obviously, but it was good to be able to check my peaks after we do each pull. So last night we ended up peaking at 25.6 psi. I will say, like, that was a little bit higher than we expected. We used to use the Torque Pro app and then with an OBD2 port reader. And I think the max that I'd ever hit was about 24. And I mean, it's the Torque Pro app and it's an OBD2 port. Like, it's a little bit hard to tell exactly how reliable those numbers are. So yeah, so 25 is a bit higher than we were expecting. I would actually talk to Torque Motorsports this morning just over like DMs on Instagram, and he said that it could even hit as high as 26.5. So what I think I'm going to do is probably do a little bit of research into the turbo just to see even what it can handle, like stock, and I guess we'll go from there about like what kind of mods are going to be coming up in the future. I mean, the thing though is this exact ECU tune that I have running on it right now has been in for a few months. So this gauge is like kind of old news. Like this tune at least is a bit old news. So even though I'm hitting 25, possibly 26 right now, like I've went months on it so far with absolutely zero issues. So I'd say that's a really good sign. There was an overboosting issue earlier in the summer. Actually right before the summer started, I was hitting 24 according to the Torque Pro app and overboosting and going into limp mode. So we ended up shipping the ECU off back to Seattle to Torque, and they fixed it up and got it back to me, and ever since then we've had zero issues with the tuning. But yeah, so hopefully the pod will come in probably within the next week, maybe like end of next week. Probably not in time for this video because I'm hoping to have it up within the next few days, but I definitely will post about it on my social media. I'm not sure if James is talking about taking like bulk orders or if he's going to be, you know, actually manufacturing and producing these pods, but I will definitely give you guys a good review on my social media and on my story, so just stay tuned for that. And then once it's all set up and it has the pod and it's sitting in the right spot and the wires are all hidden, I'll definitely post up some photos and whatnot. Anyway, shout out to you guys for sticking around if you're still here watching this. Hopefully we'll have some more installation videos coming up shortly. I want to do a quick review in the near future on my new white line sway bar, rear sway bar. I did install it the other day, so I did not get a video of installation, but otherwise, like, I can just run through that quickly talking in the video. Overall, fairly easy installation. But yeah, I'd like to talk about the things that I've noticed since installing it. If you guys are interested in something like that, just make a comment below, and we'll be more than happy to do that. But before you guys leave, subscribe, hit that notification bell, just so you get notifications when me and Pelman post new videos. Hopefully we'll have some videos on the Subaru coming soon. We may have some new parts coming eventually. Anyways, take it easy, guys.